יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי לפניך. O God, you have been our refuge in every generation. Before the mountains came into being, before the earth and the world were brought forth, from eternity to eternity you are God. You return us to dust. You decree return. For in your sight 1,000 years are as yesterday when it is past as a watch in the night. And you engulf us in sleep. We are like grass that renews itself. At daybreak it flourishes anew. At dusk it withers and dries. The span of our lives is 80 years and 10, or given strength 80 years. But the best of those years include trouble and sorrow. They pass by speedily and we are in darkness. Teach us, therefore, to number our days, to count each day, that we acquire a heart of wisdom. Amen. El Harachaman, O sweet God, you have taken a beloved friend. When we gather and raise our voices in prayer to the source of life, we ask for comfort and strength and the power to live. Dolores has been taken by death. She is missed already. The gifts of her friendship, her kinship, her devotion, they are deeply missed. We seek companionship today in the company of friends and communities of meaning and shared purpose. We invite one another together today to lift up Dolores' highest values, her most noble aspirations by which she wished to live. We draw all those close today. None of them are buried with her. And indeed, we find companionship as well in the teachings and traditions of our Jewish heritage and the verses of our biblical heritage. I invite you, if you wish, to join with me in the recitation of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou spreadest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. Ata imadi, thou art with me. The faith of the psalmist is echoed today, and the feelings that I know are engendered because of all of you. Ata imadi, thou art with me. You are present with this morning family, and you should only know how grateful they are to you for joining together and for continuing to be part of their lives at this saddened time. At the conclusion of our service here at Berkowitz-Kumin today, we will continue with a service of interment at Mount Olive Cemetery, and the family will gather later at 1333 Brainerd Road in Lyndhurst, following the burial until 8 p.m. today. Family encourages that if you wish to honor Dolores, that you do so with a contribution to Montefiore Home. The web address can be found in the listing in the paper. There is so much gratitude as well today to the folks at Montefiore and for the devoted care, individual and supportive, offered to their beloved mother, grandmother, great-grandmother. They, of course, invite your continued memories, your gestures of condolence and remembrance in the days and weeks to come. Rabbi Richard Levy wrote a prayer of gratitude that arises to my heart this morning. It begins in the following way. Thank you, for we are not alone, not abandoned in the world. We are persons, and so there must exist within the universe an acknowledgement of persons. We acknowledge that as Adonai. We can feel secure here, protected. Each one of our imperfect lives reveals an irreplaceable piece of a holy world. Our lives, complex, are your caress, O God. Our souls, beclouded, are your intimates. Miracles surround us each minute of an ordinary day, and at every corner of a troubled night, signs of you. In you we find perfect mother love and father caring, which help us to accept our own parents' imperfections and irreplaceable humanity. Life, all life, its beauty, ugliness, tragedy, and delight, is the truth of your existence and its goodness. Thank you. Thank you, God, for it all. For it all. It's a beautiful prayer, don't you think? Whether we are certain that any one of us could embrace the author's total sense of gratitude for life's tragedy and goodness, what is conveyed in that prayer is a sense that we are not alone in the world. Judaism conveys that we are not alone. A personal presence, an irreplaceable humanity intended for goodness, intends to make us secure. If for the family of Dolores Rety, gathered in tribute to her today, there are mixed emotions. There is certainly the severity of being cut off from her voice, cut off from her hopeful and loving and caring, empathetic nearness to them in every endeavor. And yet, because of the frailties that befell her, because of the difficulties, the memory issues that she faced in her last several years, there is also the realization that it has been some time since their mom, grandmother, great-grandmother, aunt, friend could be as present for them as she once was. And somehow today, even in sadness, her life inspires in them a sense of tremendous appreciation. We wistfully hope that if God intended for us to feel secure and protected, certain that there are signs of a holy world, then Dolores, a beloved sister, a kind mother, a thoughtful grandmother, a dear and precious member of this community, was one of those signs. I only came to know Dolores in the last several years, when her home was somewhat diminished, to become a modest space at Montefiore. Visits I made over this time as the rabbi at her temple helped me to glimpse a small part of the joy she took in welcoming someone to her place, conveying to me a smile and a feeling of warmth and human connection. Yet after I sat yesterday with her kids and they told me stories of her life, the true fullness in her life, well, I hope that I could have absorbed some of the essence of that. Dolores was born 84 years ago and, in fact, just marked her birthday last week, February 19th. She and her twin sister, Dailene, with whom our hearts ache today, were the youngest of 5 sisters. Gilda, Celia, Miriam, Dailene, and Dolores were the kids of immigrants. Their mother, Regina Dunn, from Poland, and their father, Julius Modorsky, an immigrant from Russia who made a living for the family as a plumber, a trade that helped the family to remain financially solvent even during the Depression. She spent much of her childhood here in Cleveland Heights and was a proud graduate of Heights High School. While the twins shared a very unique and special bond, Dolores shared a tremendous closeness to all her sisters at every age and stage, and was a source of abiding love and warmth to their children, beloved nieces and nephews, many of whom shared her love of Jewish holidays and traditions and desire to welcome the people in her life, to bring them to her home, and to bring those holidays and traditions to fruition. We gather in sympathy with many of them today, and our hearts ache with them. and with Dolores' children, for Nancy and her Tom, for Brian and his Lisa, beloved children of her first marriage to Donald Croson, a young law student she met at OU in the first year or so after high school, and with whom she built a marriage of substance and meaning over a couple of decades. We also share our love with Sharon and her Steve, Diane and her John Paul, the kids who came into her life as part of her marriage to Berkowitz Rety. In each of their lives, Dolores has in some way been a matriarch, a rock of support to hold them up, until weakness made her unable to hold anyone up. As much regret as that brings, the family prefers today, as you can imagine, to lift up the images they most appreciate, the gifts that she valued, what she represented, what she was good at, and what she enjoyed. These are like photographs in our mind, images to our mind's eye. There's no question that one of the things we can picture Dolores enjoying in her life was music. I once read a quote of a highly revered Jewish teacher that said, "The whole world is nothing but singing before the Holy One of Blessing." Every Jew a singer before God, every letter in the Torah a musical note. I love that idea that the Torah is a symphony and our lives offerings in the world through song. Dolores might have regarded that notion with a smile as well, given how much she enjoyed singing and performing with a group of friends that were called the Mother Singers, who enjoyed entertaining people at nursing homes, schools, public gatherings, really anywhere that anyone responded to music. The Mother Singers enjoyed bringing their voices to inspirit and bless such people. Another image we might have today of a better time in her life is of Dolores as a hardworking and contributing member of her family, not only at home, but at work. She took on administrative and secretarial roles at Congregation B'nai Yeshurun, and later at a local law firm, each place in which she rose through the ranks, positions of leadership in the office, of which she was proud to make a difference in her own family's livelihood and in her achievements. But she wouldn't want us to laud her today. She'd have preferred that the pictures we lifted up in our mind's eye be the ones in which she was celebrating a deep and principled, loving and affirming relationship with members of her family. She'd have wanted the rabbi to turn his attention now to the people she admired most in the world, her grandchildren. David and Emily, Andy and Suzanne. They knew a grandma who relished their going out into the world and making a difference in it, and who loved it just as much when they didn't go out into the world, but just stayed at her side, cuddled around her at a Passover Seder or a Thanksgiving table, seeing them enjoy her matzah balls, or her noodle kugel, or the famous chocolate pecan pie. These were holy things to her. She was proud to know some of her best recipes. Her spaghetti, her meatloaf, and others were making their way into the repertoire of Suzanne's cooking, and was delighted to be at the sidelines of any event or activity to which she could make it in order to see a granddaughter or grandson do what they enjoyed doing, being, or playing. What Brian said to me yesterday was that he will never forget how focused his mom was on his being happy and on others taking joy, and that he holds that close to his own priorities. Nancy recalled together with her brother how even going back to when they were children, if Dolores was upset with a child and had to reprimand them or send them to their room for a time out, she never really stayed with that punishment for very long. Nancy said Mom was a softie, and so, after a few minutes in time out, if you asked nicely after you were sent to your room, you were pretty much accepted back downstairs as if nothing happened. They both shared with me how much their mom would want to pay tribute today to the incredible gifts in her life that came about during her marriage with Berkowitz Rety. He awakened in her a new spirit and an incredible sense of optimism because of how devoted and affectionate their marriage was. They were good to each other and good for one another, and enjoyed taking dancing lessons together, which they used while dancing long into the night on many cruise ships. Their honeymoon on the Orient Express beckoned more travel during their marriage to such exciting ports as Israel, Italy, Scandinavia, Chile, and other places as well. They could also escape simply by reading good books at the local library, or by spending an evening or a full weekend just watching TMC, the Turner Classic Movie Channel, and have just as much fun as they might have had shipboard. There is a passage in Psalm 90 with which I opened this service today. It shares that our lives are perhaps 80 years and 10 are given strength, 80 or more, but that the best of those years include trouble and sorrow, that time passes swiftly. And so the psalmist bids us to count every moment, each moment precious, that we acquire a heart of wisdom. As a rabbi to Dolores and much of her Cleveland family at a temple where she long celebrated Jewish holidays, B'nai Mitzvah, where she sought and received support during losses that touched her long life, I think I can say without reservation that as she navigated her life's path, she did acquire a heart of wisdom. It is her inheritance. And our task now in the days and weeks, months and years ahead is to hold on to that inheritance and be sure that her great-granddaughters, Adrian and Juliana, get a peek at it too. It's an honor to be part of this process to bring her to her final rest because we can all learn a lot from her. She lived her life with great love, tender, merciful, devoted love for others, loving knowledge of what we each wanted and a desire to help us fulfill it, and a sense of joy about what life could be, how you could dance and celebrate and sing and make life a blessing like hers. Amen. Happy to call on Brian now to share some memories as well, tribute to his mom.
First, I would like to say thank you being here. Thank you for being here. It means so much to us. It's not easy getting through this by yourself, so we really appreciate you being here with us. Now, the twins were born to my Grandma Regina and Grandpa Julius in Akron, Ohio. They also had Celia, Gilda, and Miriam, and they were very close growing up. Now, Dolores was the best mother you could have. Loving, caring, and kind. She was always there for me. She supported all my school sporting activities, senior projects, and I could always count on her being there for me. If I have ever had a question or concern, she would always be there to listen and give advice. She enjoyed watching and cheering for me at my Little League games, and Boy Scouts. She spent her spare time knitting fantastic Afghan throws for me in Browns colors, of course. And I still have one. And she was like a mother to my dear cousins, Bill, Cindy, and Paul, as well as Sharon and Diane and Bob. She was always ready to assist in any way she could. Now, Dolores took great pride in her home. She loved Judaic traditions and values. She always made sure you were at ease at her home. Always there to assist in any way she could. Always dressed beautifully in her patented high heels. Her house was filled with the most beautiful, exquisite tchotchkes you've ever seen in your life. And as I said, Dolores took great pride in her home. She always took great care of her home, and she loved to entertain friends and family. Even in her younger years, when she was, in college years, she would even do her own interior decorating. She would do her own painting and wallpapering. So I don't know that you knew that, but she really took pride in her home upon herself. On holidays like Hanukkah, she would make the most outstanding brisket and latkes. She loved coordinating gatherings like Passover with the whole extended family. She always made sure all guests were happy, relaxed, and in good spirits. Dolores and Bert made a beautiful life together. They took over like 50 cruises, and they used to dance on the ship deck all night long. There's a Yiddish word called kaleveled, and they kaleveled, which means such great joy, over their grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And she always made sure she attended all the kids' graduations. And it's like she loved going to David's swim meets. She loved going to Emily's plays at the Performing Arts Academy. Of course, she loved shopping with Dylene, and she loved being with Dylene all the time. Heck, at one point, my kids knew her as Grandma Mall because she used to take them to Beechwood Place all the time. Dolores was a beautiful, kind, and sweet woman. And she always wanted the best for me and my sister. I love you forever, Mom.
I invite you all now to please rise. אל מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים, חמצי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, עם קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזכירים, את נשמת דובה בת ג'וליאס ורגינה, שהלכה לעולמה. בעל הרחמים יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר Amen. O God, full of compassion, eternal Spirit in this universe, grant perfect rest now in your sheltering presence to our beloved Dolores, for she has entered eternity. God of mercy, let her find refuge forever in the shadow of your wings. Let her soul be bound up in the bonds of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.